Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. As always, we have another golf ball review for you today, and I gotta admit, this one's kind of from left field. My longtime subscribers know that I love direct-to-consumer balls and the underground balls, the ones you don't hear about, ones aren't sold in stores, and this one is even left field from my standards. You've probably never heard of it, but it's actually the Diawings Max Distance Golf Ball. Let's dive right in. Okay, so as I said before, you probably haven't heard of this, and if you looked at the title, it might have made you even do a little double take because it's not a golf company I had ever heard of, and most likely not you either. But this company actually reached out to me a couple weeks ago and asked me if I was willing to test their golf ball, and I told them that I'm always DTRGB, down to review a golf ball. So I said, hey, go ahead and send them on to me, so they did, and I did some testing with them, and let's see how they are. Real quick, I don't know too much about the company, but I will get into a little bit. They seem to really love distance. If you go to their website and kind of look about what their goal is, what their story is, they seem to think distance plays a really important role in the game of golf, which of course it does, it always does. Accuracy might be a little more important in most cases, but distance is definitely a big part of it. We all want to hit the ball really far. We all want it to go really far, really long, and really straight. So, I mean, that's kind of what Diawings is promising here, and so let's see that. So, looking at the back here, just to kind of see, what they're offering, you can see that it's supposed to feel really soft. It's supposed to have extreme distance, which, yeah, okay, sure, we'll see about that. A very high ball flight, or just a high ball flight, I guess, and a low spin rate, which is very common for a two-piece beginner golf ball, especially one that's, more of a Surlyn iometer cover, just meant to kind of go straight and keep you between the trees. That's pretty standard. So all that seems to line up pretty well. Here is the thing that kind of worries me, though. Of course, one of the things I always look at, being a guy who loves value, is I look at the price. And at first, I saw a price of $17, and I thought, well, that's a great price for golf balls. That's actually really competitive. And then I realized that that's actually just for 6. And in order to get the full dozen, it's actually $37. Now, that does come with free shipping, but again, if you've been watching my last few reviews, again, the irony, it just keeps rolling in. I don't know when it became okay for companies to start charging over $30 for two-piece golf balls, but I wish it would really stop, to be honest with you, because we had the E9 that was Bridgestone, $29.99 a dozen. Ended up being a good golf ball, but that price, and then the Titleist Tour Soft was a two-piece golf ball, and again, for $37, that thing was junk. And in the grand scheme of things, for that price, you can get way better golf balls. And again, now we have another one, which I didn't plan it that way, I promise, but we're talking another two-piece golf ball for $37 a dozen. And the problem is it's really difficult to get that type of value out of a golf ball. It really is. There's so much competition. There's so many other golf balls. This golf ball is going to have to be one of the best golf balls I've ever tested to even maybe get a review from me. That's just the way it is, because the price point, it's just so crazy. I mean, the free shipping is nice. Most places don't do that. It's only $30 to get free shipping, which means that you're better off getting the dozen, because if you only buy the 6, you're going to end up spending on shipping, and it's just going to be worth it to get the dozen. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the actual test now, and let's see how this golf ball performs. Hopefully it's really, really well, because it's going to need it with that price point. Okay, so let's look at the design of the golf ball here. Let's look at the front. That is definitely an interesting logo. It is Diawings. It's technically Diamond Wings, but they'll shorten it to Diawings. And it's actually a good combination there. And I will say the logo is definitely a little weird. It's not something I've ever seen before. It is something that might grow on me, but the W, whatever you want to call it, double V, W, it's definitely an interesting design, but it looks cheap. This almost reminds me of something you see on the course, and you look at it and you think, oh God, when did this golf ball come out? 20, 30 years ago? That's not necessarily Diawings' fault. It's just because it's such a newer brand, and I've never heard of it. I've never seen of it. My brain is just having trouble comprehending the logo, especially with the Diawings being in that italicized font. It almost reminds me of the old Dunlop logos and things like that, so it reminds me a little bit old. So I would like them to come out maybe with a little bit more modern of a logo, but for a first shot, this isn't bad. It would have to grow on me for sure. Coming around to the alignment tool, this is actually really cool. So this is actually a very thick alignment tool. It's got You know, very good symmetry there. I like that it says Diamond Wings on one side, Ultra Distance on the other side. It's very symmetrical. The letters are lining up, everything good. It's a thick line, and it's even got diamonds on the end of it. So they actually added their own flair there, which is really cool, and made it thick enough to see to line up your putts. So hey, that's good with me. I love alignment tools, and this one's actually one of the more unique ones I've seen. So hey, bravo there. Other than that, you know, it does look and feel more like a two-piece cheaper golf ball. It's not super cheap by any means. I've definitely seen cheaper, and I felt cheaper. So this one actually does feel pretty good. So, I mean, no complaints there. So overall, maybe just a little bit more modern of a logo, but hey, there's plenty of time to work on that. Let's go ahead and get out to the chipping and putting green, see how we did out there. Okay, so usually with two-piece golf balls, I don't expect a lot of spin from them. And I gotta say, I was actually decently surprised. This golf ball had a little bit of checkup to it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not gonna be as much as your three-piece urethane golf balls. It's just not meant for that. But as far as two-piece golf balls I've tested, this one actually had a little bit of tug to it. I mean, just the tiniest little bit, but definitely more than the average I get with a two-piece golf ball. And I was really impressed with that, because one of the biggest things I have people tell me on my channel is I gotta have that spin. I'd love to play a two-piece forgiving golf ball, but I gotta have that spin. Well, this one actually does a pretty decent job of that, so I was really surprised there. It feels as soft as, basically it's a bouncy ball, I'll be honest with you. There's very little feel here, barely hit it, it just springs off the club. There's a lot of forgiveness there. You can pretty much hit it off anywhere on your little face here, and it's pretty much gonna go the same just because it's so soft. It's so fast off the club face. Overall, just really good there. And for a two-piece golf ball, some of that sponginess is common, but having all of that combined isn't. So I was really impressed. And then going into the putter, I got to be honest with you, the forgiveness, I don't know how you get any better. I tried multiple times. I thought maybe it was a fluke at first. I tried multiple times hitting off the toe, hitting off the inside, coming down on it too much, maybe lifting up a little too much on it. I got the same distance pretty much every single time, and I was surprised how many times the golf ball went in the hole despite a mishit. And that's not common. That's not common at all. I test a lot of golf balls out here on my putting green, and when you mishit one, you usually lose a foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, somewhere in there, because you're just not hitting in the center of the putter. And of course, that's gonna depend on the type of putter you have too. I have a mallet, it's a little bit more forgiving, but still, the fact that I could mishit one off the toe and it still go in the hole, really incredible there. I'm actually impressed with what Diawings has done around the green. This being a golf ball in that price range, I would definitely hold it to a higher standard. So far so good. Hopefully the numbers can continue that, and then maybe it actually might be worth the price. Who knows? All right, and let's jump into overall feel real quick before we get to the numbers. I gotta say it feels really good. It's really soft and super, super quick off the club release. Really good. Every once in a while I'll test a golf ball that just has this really powerful release. When you strike it, it just feels like it jumps off the club at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and that's exactly what this one does. I was super impressed. Hitting it off the toe, there was a slight firm press there, but it had a really good amount of forgiveness and still felt really soft no matter what. So they nailed the feel. Really love it, and if you're a fan of those two-piece golf balls, like the Wilson comes to mind, like the Wilson Duo, really soft. This one's going to be kind of like that. It might be just a hair or a click firmer, but it's still super soft, super squishy, and boy, it's got a bouncy ball effect like you wouldn't believe. It's really good. So love the feel there, love what it did. Hopefully those will translate into numbers. So let's start off with the 9-iron. 92.5 mile an hour ball speed. That is actually better than average, so that's really good. Off to a good start. 129.8 on the distance, which is, hey, that's about 3.5 yards better. That's really good. 123.5, that's really good as well. That's about 4 yards more, so that's awesome as well. And then it actually launched a little lower than my average, so I don't mind that at all. Getting a little tiny bit lower of a launch and getting a lot more distance, 3 or 4 more yards of distance, that's really good. I mean, the ball was really springing off the club. You know, I've had some trouble with my 9-iron compressing recently. A lot of stuff's been average, so it's really good to see something up near the 130 range again. It's been a minute. Let's dive into the 7 now. Let's see how that spin is. 6,469 on your spin, which is, hey, right in line with my average. And for a two-piece golf ball, that's perfectly fine. Anytime a two-piece golf ball can get in that average, that means you can stop it on a green, no problem. 108.7. Wow, that's actually really good. That's about almost 2 mile an hour better than my average. Really good there. 165.4. That can't be right. Oh my good, that's right. Okay. Well, that's a new record, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. Sorry for the delay. That is by far a new record. I have never hit my 7-iron an average of 165. I think 163 was the previous record, so that shattered it. That is incredible. 154.3, again, that is like 5 or 6 yards better than my average, and it had a little slightly higher launch than my average at 18.8. There's no getting around that. That is phenomenal. That ball is compressing really well, and again, when you combine it with the feel, you combine it with how it's springing off the club, it does make sense. I mean, I knew it was coming off hot. I had no idea I was getting 165 average total disc. That's nuts. I never average anywhere near that. Most of the time around the, 160 is my average on the dot. So to get an extra 5.5 yards, basically, that's really, I mean, that's what it's advertising is max distance. So it's actually doing a really good job so far. Let's keep it going. Hey, let's keep it going. Getting into the 5-iron spin. So 4,000, this is actually a 5 hybrid, excuse me, 4,168. That's slightly above average. Actually, it's a little above average. That's really good. They can stick a green with a hybrid. That's really good. 118.2. Again, that's higher than my average. That's really good. 197.7. That's about 5 yards more than my average. And 183.5. That's about 6 to 7 yards more than my average with a 14.7 launch. So again, a mid. So one thing I will say about the launch is the 9 might have been just slightly below, and then the other 2 have now been slightly above, but it is staying around that mid launch point. Nothing's been crazy. And a lot of the time when I get these golf balls that are more newer or, they're more cheaper, whatever, overseas, whatever you want to call it, a lot of the time I get something, the Zexio is a prime example. It launched 30 degrees with the 9. It was ridiculous. I always get one that's just really weird, but this has actually been really consistent at a mid ball flight all around, and that's really good. I just hope that the driver continues it and can finish it off strong. Going into the driver, 2,639 with a spin. That is below my average, so that is awesome. 244.7, that is above my average. 134.4, which is actually average. That's right on my average. 224, that's above average, and it actually launched at 14.5, which again is very close to mid for me. So, wow. Wow. The consistent numbers across the board. A ton of distance, a great feel. We'll talk about a summary of this here in a second, but it's really hard not to be impressed with those numbers. My expectations into going in to review this ball were nothing, especially when I found out it was $37. So after seeing these numbers, that kind of changes things a little bit. So let's go ahead and get into durability real quick before I come to the conclusion. Let's take a look at it, and I got to be honest with you, it's pretty darn good. This is after 60, 70 shots. You can see a couple dirt marks, a couple scuffs, but when you actually feel the golf ball, there's nothing that's cut, there's nothing deep in there, there's nothing that's going to affect the ball flight. That's a good 4.5 out of 5 on durability. It's really good. I mean, 4.5, somewhere in there. It's really, really good. It's actually probably just as good as a lot of the value tour balls I tested and even some of the actual tour balls I test. So, I mean, there's no chips, there's no scuffs. My Golf Dot on the side had a couple chips, but overall stayed intact pretty good. Really hard not to be impressed there. Well, this is a first for Golf Ball Addict. This is something I have never done before. As my viewers know, I love value. It's one of the most important things on the channel. What am I getting versus what am I paying? And when I came into this video, I was pretty blunt about it had to be one of the best golf balls I've ever tested in order to get a recommendation. I mean, it's $37 a dozen for a 2-piece golf ball. I don't think so. But I can't fault the golf ball. The numbers are there. It has a really cool design. It has a great alignment tool around the greens. It does what it's supposed to. It feels really good. It comes off the putter extremely hot. It's very, very, very forgiving. The numbers were all better than my average and all very consistent on the launch monitor. I broke a record for highest distance with my 7-iron. The durability was really good. I mean, what else do you really want in a golf ball? And I got to be honest with you, I'm so blindsided by this because I had never heard of the company. Emails out of the blue and just says, hey, can we send you some? I get them, I look at them, I'm kind of like with my wife, everyone at home, we're kind of looking at them like sideways, we're giggling, laughing, like what the heck's this thing gonna do? And it performed. And I have to give it credit where it's due. Does this golf ball get a recommendation from me? It absolutely does. My recommendation would be, pay the $22 to $25 and get 6 of them if you want to try it out. you know, I know it's only 6 of them. I know value-wise there's better, but it's worth a shot. If it could give you a little extra distance, if it could give you that feel you're looking for, I mean, it's a phenomenal golf ball, and it's proved that with the numbers. I'm really impressed, and it's really, I'm shocked that it got a recommendation to me based on what we had at the beginning. So Diawings, really great job there. I don't know much about you, but if you ever decide to make another golf ball or go into a tour line, whatever you decide to do, I'm down. Keep me involved, because this is really cool. Love those numbers, geeking out over those numbers. Guys, as always, keep watching to keep saving and keep learning. Until next time.